Hi, this is Kim from Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and this is ECT TV, episode 78. So today is a very special episode. This is part 2 of a 3-part series I'm doing. If you missed part 1, it was last week, and it was a creativity booster. So I gave you an activity to do to boost your creativity, and I actually shared myself sketching jewelry while listening to music. So if you missed that, I'll put the link below the video in the description. Today is part 2, and I'm going to be teaching you a basic skill lesson. So you'll be learning a jewelry making technique, and it is something that you'll use again and again in jewelry making when you're making wire wrap jewelry. Next week will be part 3, and we will actually make a jewelry project. So that setup, the creativity booster, jewelry skills lessons, and then a jewelry project is how my eCourse, Rediscover Your Creativity and Make Jewelry, is set up. And for Rediscover, it is a 6-week eCourse, and you get a lot more projects than just one in a week, and you get the creativity booster, all 3 parts in 1 week. And you get them for 6 weeks. So if you want to learn a little more about Rediscover Your Creativity and Make Jewelry, you can find that at the link below this video. And I'll let you know that the class starts on January 2nd, 2017. It's a great way to start out your year creative, coming up with jewelry designs, and making jewelry. I only run this e-course once or twice a year. So if this is something you're thinking about wanting to look into, then I suggest taking a look, seeing if it's right for you, ask me any questions you have, and signing up. But for now, let's get to the lesson. So today I'm going to show you how to make a wire wrapped bead link, and then we'll be using that as part of our project next week when we actually make the jewelry project for part 3 of this series. So you'll need a wire, and I'll be using 20 gauge wire. It's round. I'm using para wire, which it doesn't have a hardness, like half hard, soft, or anything like that, but it acts like half hard in my experience. So 20 gauge half hard round wire works well. Although you can use other gauges of wire depending on your bead. So you also need a bead, and most of the time 20 gauge is going to work well for you. But sometimes you may have a bead that has a really narrow bore, the hole that is drilled through, and you might need to go with a thinner gauge. So use what you need to, but start with 20 gauge and see if that will work. So you need a bead, the wire, and then the tools that you will need are wire cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and it's helpful to have bent nose pliers, but you can get away without them, or you could use another pair of pliers if you need some help with your wrapping. So we're going to start by cutting a piece of wire that is a few inches longer than the bead that we are using. And I always say it's typically better to have maybe a little bit too much wire, cut it a little bit too long, as opposed to cutting it too short. If you cut it too long, you can trim it off. You do waste some wire, but if you cut it too short, then you waste all the wire you just cut off because you can't use it because it's too short. So err on the side of slightly too long. And now I am grabbing my round nose pliers. So I want to show you this tip. When you're making wire wrapped loops in a project, it is good to keep them all uniform, so they're all the same size throughout the entire project. So to do that, you can make a mark on your round nose pliers with a Sharpie, and then you just follow that line throughout the project, and then your loops will all be the same size. The Sharpie will rub off eventually, and I find it's fine because you'll make different projects, that sort of thing. You might want your loops to be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, and so you can just mark at the beginning of a project. In this case, it doesn't actually matter exactly where this mark is, just that you make a mark and then you follow it throughout the project. So you're going to take a piece of wire and hold it in your round nose pliers. And you want to hold the wire about 1.25 inches from the top. You're going to line it right up with the mark you made with your Sharpie on your round nose pliers. And now we're going to wrap the wire around to form a loop. And you'll see this loop is off center. So this is how I like to center my loop on the top of the wire. Other people have different techniques. If you already know a different technique, feel free to use it, but this is how I do it. Hold the loop in your chain nose pliers, and then you're going to wrap the small wire around the large wire one time. And while you're doing that, pull the long wire out straight. And now your loop is straight above the wire. Now I'm just switching hands because I'm right-handed and it's easier for me to wrap with my right hand. And in this case, you could use your hand to just finish the loops, the wraps, or this is where your bent nose pliers will come in handy. And so go around 2 more times. And then we're just going to trim off the excess wire. And we're going to make sure we make a flush cut. So when you have wire cutters, they make 2 different kinds of cuts. The flat back side, when you cut it, whatever you leave behind leaves a nice flush cut, or it's a nice flat straight cut. If you cut this way with the kind of front concave side, whatever you leave behind will be left with a pointy pinch cut. And so when you're making your trims, make sure you use a flush cut. So I'm just going to trim that as close as I can get to the wire, and then grab my chain nose pliers and just make sure that end is not poking out. And then if you find your wraps aren't all like close together as you want them to be, you can just pinch them and bring them all close together. So that is one wire wrap loop, and we're going to be sliding on the bead and basically doing the same thing on the other side. So slide on the bead. So I'm grabbing my round nose pliers and we're going to hold the wire just above the bead, about 1/4 inch. And again, we're lining up with the line that you made with a Sharpie on your round nose pliers. And that way both of the loops will be the same size. And again, we're just going to wrap around to form a loop. And grab our chain nose pliers. Hold the loop in the chain nose pliers. Go around one time, and while we go around, pull the bead out straight to straighten the loop on top of the bead. And again, switching hands, and I'm grabbing my bent nose pliers to help me wrap. I'm going to go around 2 more times. If you need to kind of straighten stuff out, you can do that. And then trim off the excess wire, making a flush cut like I showed you earlier. And then I'm grabbing my chain nose pliers and just making sure that end is not poking out. And that is a wire wrapped bead link. And like I said, next week I will have a jewelry project for you that will incorporate this technique. So if you missed part 1, you'll find the link below this video and you can go over to it. Today's part 2 and next week will be part 3. If you sign up for my newsletter, you will get future episodes of ECT TV in PDF form in your inbox. And I also have a 10-day quick start guide to wire wrapped jewelry that you can get for free over at my website as well. All the links you need are below the video. Have a great day. I'll see you in a week with a jewelry project. Teaching you how to round wire for most of another pair of pliers that are Doing the same thing on the other side. Oops. Of ECT TV in